What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another video on the channel brought to you by AFL Fantasy Fanatics. Make sure you go and check them out wherever you get your podcasts and live Twitter spaces every Sunday night after the final game of the round. But today we're going to be going through the must-have rookies for AFL Fantasy 2023. With the practice games in the books, we have got a bit of an idea of what sort of rookies that we are going to get in round one and who perform well in the preseason. So we're going to go through all those guys that you should be putting into your sides for this season. But before we do that, make sure that you do subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers, so if you can help me reach that goal, that would be very much appreciated. Also, leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the content. Also, turn notifications on so don't miss when I go live or upload any other content in the future. So without further ado, let's get into the must-have rookies. Alrighty guys, let's get stuck into the must-have rookies for AFL Fantasy 2023. So we'll just be going through the normal standard format. Go through defenders first, midfielders, rucks, and then forwards, even though we're probably not going to have any ruck rookies. So bit of a tongue twist that one. But anyway, let's get stuck into defenders. So I think it's pretty obvious who the number one rookie back in defence is. And that's Reuben Ginbey. He looked very, very good on the weekend. Played low game time. I think he's got about a 65. So he had a brilliant game, and I think he's going to be there round one. And he's going to be playing that 50-50 split with Elliot Yeo, which is great. So he's going to be playing either at half-back or through the midfield. I think he'll be able to score some good numbers there. And I think for a lot of coaches, he's going to be solid as a rock on our fields. Now, the debate is, where is he going to go? A lot of people are going to have him D5 or D6. Currently, as it stands for my team, I've currently got him D5 because I'm playing extra rookie who we're going to talk about later on field. But I don't mind paying up for some other players in your defence and having Ginbey as your D6 because it has a bit of security there. And then if you always want to go down and bring your another defender rookie on field, you can do that a few rounds into the season. But Reuben Ginbey should be locked on for all of our sides on field. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Darcy Wilmot. So for a lot of people, he's going to be locked on our benches. 200k, he's played in the finals last year, looked good and solid, scored your 50s. I think that's probably what you can expect, somewhere from 45 to 55 on most weeks. He may go for some games where he goes above that and goes up near 70, but I just don't know if I'd be comfortable playing him on field because I think that he could have some low scores there. But we'll just have to see. But I think he will be a solid cash cow. I think he'll make some good money. I just don't know if I'd play him on field. I think that emergency on the bench is probably the best spot for him. But I would definitely be selecting him because I think he will play. So he would be one I'd be locking in. Campbell Chester is the next one. So he's obviously last year, had a injury-riddled year and got ruled out for the season. I think it was an ankle injury in the preseason last year and didn't play. We sort of thought, start of the preseason, we thought he's going to be a guy that we're just going to be able to lock on our benches or even on our fields at 200k and all is good. But since the preseason started, we've heard rumblings of he's had sort of a management load throughout the preseason, so he hasn't been at full pelt and full training. I think that as the preseason's gone on, he's had more games. They've liked what they've seen from him. He scored 35 on the weekend against the Crows from 61% game time. So again, they're just managing his minutes. He is a risk of potentially getting the sub in round one or maybe not even being there. If he's not there, as Cole Holmes said on the AFL Fantasy Fanatics podcast when he joined us the other night, that if he doesn't start round one, he may not get a gig within the first month because the waffle doesn't actually go back until round 5. So if that's the case, that could be a bit of trouble. But I think he will be there round, but he's got the risk of being the sub. So that's why I think he's a good bench option as well. I don't know if I'm playing him on field. Again, if he starts playing well and has some good scores, then you can always bring him on field and downgrade if someone fails and you can put him on field. Or you can even put him in the midfield because he's got that flexibility. But I wouldn't be starting him on field. I think he's a good bench option. Moving on to the next rookie, Alex Chincotta. So he sort of burst out of nowhere, really. He sort of came to our attention in the first practice game that Carlton had. And last week, I think he got a 73 from about 80-odd% game time and looked solid. He got better as the game went on. And he's one that I would be happy playing him on field. He's currently my D6 as the time of this recording. And that's just because I'm paying up for guys elsewhere. Obviously, as many of you know, paying up for lads. So I've got to take a bit of a haircut on a few things around the ground. But Yeah, Alex Cincotta, I think I would be happy enough playing him on the bench. If Campbell Chesser wasn't to play round one, that you could do something where, for example, Liam Jones is not rookie price, but a few people have looked at him the last few days after he had a solid game. You could always put him on the field, put Cincotta on your bench, emergency, plays the first game. This is only if Campbell Chesser doesn't play. And then you can loophole and see how he goes. And then if he does well, you can get rid of Liam Jones, you need to play Chesser and get his emergency score. But if he doesn't do well enough, then you can look elsewhere for another rookie. But I think Cincotta will be solid for us on our field, so I don't mind locking him on foot. It's a bit risky, but I think we need value in defence. Next is Lockie Cowan. So from what we've been hearing is that it's going to be him or Cincotta. It sounding like you want to be one of them, not both. I still think that there's a chance both could play. Both look good. Cowan scored less. I think he scored 47, but he had moments without the ball. He had a few bumps there, a few nice tackles, and just a few nice moments. So the coaches would have liked that, and they would have liked what they've seen. And going back on Cincotta, I think he had 87% disposal efficiency for Cincotta, so coaches will like that as well. So that's why I think that both are a chance of getting a gig in round one. I think if both play, I think you can play both. And the good thing is if Cowan plays, then you can play Cincotta, because then all of a sudden you've got 4 rookies. You can put a Chesser or Cincotta on your midfield bench if you want, or put one in your utility and then put the other 2 on the bench and then 1 on field. So I don't mind that play as well. These are probably the 5 ones that I'd be considering a lot the most. A few guys to just quickly mention, if Caleb Marchbank gets a gig, he's expensive. I don't know if I'd be paying up for him, but just a name just to keep note there. Corey Wagner, we did hear rumblings of in the preseason he could get a gig, but I'm not sure if he will now. I think a few guys have moved past him. Max Michaelani for the Crows, I think will play, but I just don't think his scoring will be high enough, so I'd be passing on him. Josh Weddle, I don't think he'll be playing round one. Didn't play in the last practice game, so I'd be passing on him as well. Moving down the list here, and just going through all these names to make sure I haven't missed anyone. Will Gould, the Ghost, will he get a game? Don't know at this stage. It doesn't look likely. Charlie Dean's another guy on Collingwood's list to just keep a bit of an eye on to see if he gets a game. And I think that's pretty much it from the... that's right. Judd McVie. He only scored 10 points for Melbourne. I'm not sure he plays round one. Maybe if Salem doesn't play, he gets a game, but I don't see him holding his spot long term. And, yep, that's it. That's it from the defender rookie. So that would be probably my order in terms of preference. Maybe Cincotta, I'd probably rather over Chesser, just because I think that Cincotta's likely to play, whereas Chesser's being low. But I'd have 4. I think 4 of them is good. If Cowan plays, I could see having all 5. Moving on to the midfielder rookies. So this is obviously where you're going to get the better rookies, and we can already see one on the screen there, Will Ashcroft. I don't really need to say much about this guy. He's just very, very good. Scored a 97 against Geelong in their practice game. Looked fantastic. Looked like a seasoned veteran out there. And yeah, I just think we have to lock him away in our side. So yeah, it's just pretty much as simple as that. Next on the list is a guy that didn't play the first practice game, but he came in and scored really well with a 92, and that's Cam Mackenzie. He just looked very, very good. And again, I just think you lock him on your grounds as well. I think that he looked really good, got opportunity in the Hawthorn midfield. There's with O'Meara and Mitchell both leaving. There is a lot of opportunity in there, and I just think he looked that good. They're going to get games into him, so I just think, again, lock him in. Not much more to say with that one. Will Phillips is the other guy that I'd be locking in, but a few people have been contemplating over the last few days, do we start him as M8 or do we pay up for a guy like a Finn Callaghan that looked very, very impressive for GWS on the weekend at 400k and put Phillips on your bench as M9? I think it could be good either way. I think that it could literally go either way. I think being on your bench, he got plenty of CBAs. He's going to be one of the top 4 midfielders, I think, for North Melbourne this year. So he's going to get opportunity in there, and I think he's going to score anywhere from your 50 to 80, anywhere in around that mark. And hopefully 65, 70 is probably what we're going to get, hopefully, from him. It'll just depend on the opposition. If there's harder matchups, he might not score as high. But I would be comfortable playing him on field. I would feel comfortable putting him on field over a couple of other rookies that will go in later, especially once in the forward line. I'm not as confident on now, but yeah, I think either or, but I think you've got to have him in your side. He's going to get a lot of opportunity, and hopefully in his 3rd season, he can finally put his injury issues and like glandular fever and all that type of stuff behind him. So I would be putting him in there.
next on the list, we're going to go through a couple of bench options that I don't mind paying up for. Well, this guy probably might not be a bench option. So, Ollie Holland. So, again, another Carlton rookie. Looked good on a wing from what we're hearing. And I think Mitch Crew said on the Plus Six podcast, and he also said to us on the AFL Fantasy Fanatics podcast that he thinks that Ollie Hollands could have that wing spot over Lockie O'Brien. So, if that's the case, I think he'll get a game round one. And I do think he'll get a game round one. And I think he'll be able to score solid. Probably not as high as, obviously, Ashcroft's and Mackenzie's. And maybe not even Phillips. But he'll be around the mark of around the 60, 65, I think, most weeks. Currently, I'm paying up for him on my bench. I've currently got Will Phillips on my field and Hollands on my bench. I don't mind paying up for a couple of rookies on your bench, because if you get a failed mid-pricer and these rookies pop on your bench, you can go your mid-pricer down, then you can fix another issue elsewhere. So I don't mind paying up for a rookie or two on the bench, and Holland's a big guy that I would be happy to. So I do like him there. So they're the main four, I think. So just some other names that a few coaches have talked about through the preseason. George Wardlaw, again, high draft pick. I don't think he's quite ready. I think he'll bide his time in the VFL for the first month or so, and then could get a game, from then on. Elijah Sartis is back from his injury for Essendon. I think it was a knee surgery or something like that. So he started running. I don't think he'll get a game in the first month, but could be a guy that could be a downgrade target throughout the season. Finn McRae, I just don't know if he gets into that Collingwood team. Bailey Humphrey's another guy to keep an eye on as well. I will put him on the ground here as well. I'll talk about him here because there's a lot of forward rookies I'll go through. But yeah, Bailey Humphrey's a guy to just keep an eye on if he gets a game. Didn't play in the last game. We don't know if that's load management or if he was just genuinely not in the team because he's not best 22. But just a guy to keep an eye on because he did look good against Essendon in the first practice game. So want to keep an eye on there. Jai Clark, I just don't know if he plays round one. Geelong's obviously a very tough team to break into, the reigning premiers. But I think long term, especially your keeper league and stuff like that, I think he'll be a good pickup. I've got him in my keeper league, so I'm very happy with that. Elijah Hewitt, the West Coast do like him. I just don't know if he gets a game in round one. Came on late against the Crows in the practice game, so didn't get a lot of games. That sort of signifies to me that he's not best 22. So, yeah, I'm not sure he gets in. Darcy Jones, has been a few whispers about him. Could get some early opportunity at GWS. I don't know if it's round one, but could be a downgrade target for us to look at. Connor Blakely, if he gets a game, he'd be a good pickup. I just don't know if he breaks into that team. Josh Sinn's been another guy that a few coaches have been speaking about, but he's had a bit of a few niggles in the preseason, so I don't think we'll see him in round one. Henry Hustwaite, just another guy to keep an eye on. Mitch Cleary did flag that he could get opportunity early, so just a guy to put in the back pocket to think maybe of a downgrade target. Joe Richards, another guy, I just don't think he gets a game round one. And then Matt Roberts, looked good as well. If he gets a game round one, could be a guy you put on your bench as like your M10, 200k basement price. He had some good moments. I think he's got a 67. I just don't know if he's there round one, or if he is, he could be the sub. So just keep an eye on him with selection. Matthew Johnson, I just don't see him being there round one, but has been a popular player on a lot of people's benches. So if he's named, then you could put him in there. I just don't think he will be. And I believe that is it from the midfield rookies. Yep, that is. So we're going to move to the ruck lineup. Not really much to speak of here. Harry Barnett, it was I think one touted as the best ruck prospect from this year's draft. I just don't think he gets much opportunity for West Coast this year. They'll probably want to develop him in the waffle, so I'm not sure he gets a game there. Samson Ryan looked good coming on against Melbourne on the weekend. I don't know if he gets into the team, but you never know. Could be a downgrade target at some point. 200k ruck forward. Max Heath, we were hoping that maybe he could get some early opportunity with some injuries to St Kilda, but looks like he won't get a game either. So a lot of these guys, sort of same story. Ned Moyle's one that's interesting. If anything was to happen to Jared Witts, hopefully it doesn't, but if anything was, then could be a guy that if you put him on your bench could come in and have a decent role with the full-time ruck, because he's essentially their only other backup ruck. So Ned Moyle, just a guy to keep an eye on there. And Lachlan McAndrew is probably the other one. Only played 38% game time on the weekend, scored 33 from it, so not too bad. But I just think they'll go with Laddams. I just don't think he'll be there. We were hoping he was going to be, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that will be the case. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the ruck rookies. It's pretty much Moyle, McAndrew, And yeah, but I just don't think they're going to play. So I don't think we're going to get an R3 this year. So it could be good for loopholing with your VCs early in the season. Moving to the forward rookies, Harry Sheezel, must-have rookie. He's so good. And the good thing about him is he's not going to get, even though North Melbourne may struggle at times this year, he's not going to be bogged down in the forward line. He's going to push up to a wing. We've seen him being thrown at half back and get a lot of the ball. I think he had near a 30-point or over 30-point quarter in the last quarter against the Bulldogs, and he scored over 70. So, yeah, definitely one you just lock him on your field. Again, does he go F5 or F6? I've currently got him F6, but a few people have got him rocking at F5, and the guy they've got at F6 is Matthias Philippou. So, I did speak about with Callahan and Phillips, and I'd rather Phillips over a guy on the forward line. I think I'd rather Phillips over Philippou, sorry. But he played forward last week, scored a 45 or a 46, I think it was. Didn't take a mark, didn't lay any tackles. So there is sort of that base for a little bit of improvement there. I still wouldn't mind playing him on field. I just think it would be better being on your bench. Now, again, a little bit similar to Ollie Hollands. I don't mind paying up for a couple of rookies on the bench because if they're the better rookies and they're going to generate more cash, I'd be happy to pay up for them. But he is 282k, and if he's playing forward, he might have some low scores. And because he's already nearly 300, is he going to be able to generate enough cash to be a worthwhile selection? I still think he is, because I still think he'll be able to get your 60s and 65s. But yeah, just one that could potentially you could skip to save that little bit of cash, because we have got a few cheaper guys in the forward line that could get games early. So yeah, just one to monitor. I think he will be there round one, but could be a guy that if you need the extra 80 odd K to go to a basement guy, I think he could be a guy that you could shave. Jai Menti will play, I think, for Essendon round one. I just think he's too expensive at 283k to really be looking at. If for some reason Sheezel wasn't named round one, which he won't be, he'll be named round. But if for some reason in a world where he wasn't, then you could potentially look at Menzies as a guy that you put on your bench, and maybe Phillip who comes on field. But yeah, I just think there are better options than Menzies. But yeah, is one to consider. Next on the list, Fergus Green. Couldn't have done much more in the preseason, to be honest. Kicked 3 goals too. I think he scored 67. I wouldn't be playing him on field personally. I think he playing for a team like Hawthorn that are going to struggle this year. He's not going to get constant ball in the 50. Could have some poor scores of like your 25 to 35, and you don't want those on your field, because that is what can cost you in the rankings each week. So I do like him as a bench option. He will be a slow burn, a little bit like Corey Durden was last year, and Corey Durden was in a better team. So it sort of just shows roughly what you can expect. So slow burn, but he's got solid job security, so I like him. Luke Pedler is the next guy. I think he will play for the Crows in round one, and he looks to have a decent role. Scored, I think, 42 or something like that in just over half a game. I think he got rested. I don't know exactly why. Was it load management because the Crows were winning by so much? I think that was the case, and I think that he will be there round one. And a bench option, I don't really think you can play him on field. I'd probably prefer the next guy to play on field if you're going to go really cheap in the forward line, and that guy is Alwyn Davey Jr. So he looked really, really good for Essendon, pushing high up the ground, getting involved in the play, and he'll be there round one. Adds extra spark as well, and with the Bombers, they've got a few good little forwards there. Obviously, John Menzies there. Will Snelling, is he going to come back into the side after sort of injuries last year? Anthony McDonald, Tim Woody's come out of retirement, so he's going to come back into the team. So they've got some good small forwards there, which allows Alwyn Davey to push up into the ground. And he did play in the midfield in spurts during the juniors, so I think he will be a solid cash cow. You could play him on your field as F6 if you needed the cash, and I think he'll score okay. I think he'll score better than a Pedler and a Green, but I still do like having him on the bench. I've currently got Alwyn Davey Jr., funny enough, in my midfield on my bench, because I just don't know if we're going to get like a Matt Roberts, for example. So I'm putting Alwyn Davey Jr. on the bench in the forward line. So just going through some other rookies here in the forward line. Tom Berry, just too expensive for mine to be paying up for him there. Who else have we got in the forward line? We talked about Josh Sinneray. Josh Sarong, I think he was injured in the preseason anyway, but I just don't know if he gets a game early, even if he is fit. So I would be passing on him. We talked about Joe Richards already. James Cheetus, again, he's a midfielder being sort of pigeonholed into a forward pocket. I don't think he gets a game round one. But if he was to play, he could be a solid option, 200k. You could put him on your bench and he might make some money. Cade Chandler could be a guy that plays early for Melbourne. Kicked 1 goal, 3 on the weekend. I don't know if he's in their best 22 at the moment. Could be that sub guy that he has been in the past. So I think Green, Pedler, Allen David Jr., John Menzies are the guys I'd be going for there. Sam Sturr could get a game early, 200k for Fremantle. Could be a solid guy to put on your bench if he gets named. I'm just unsure because Collier hasn't played in the games, and I think Collier could be ready for round one. So yeah, he's just a guy that I'm not sure if he gets into the best team, but if he does, could be a good option at decent price. Jacob van Rooyen has been a guy that's been talked about heavily this pre-season. Again, didn't play much on the weekend. I just don't see him getting a game round one with all their tall forwards they've got, plus as well Gawn and Grundy in the same team. I just don't see him playing. Voss was another guy that a few people talked about. I don't think he gets into the team round one either. Angus Sheldrick, same sort of thing. I don't think he plays. And Blake Drury. We did hear a comment come out today from Josh Simpkin on SEN that could be a guy that wouldn't be surprised if he gets games early in the season. So just a guy to keep an eye on. He didn't play in the practice game, I don't think, against the Bulldogs, but 200k mid forward. If he gets a game, could potentially be a decent scorer because there has been touted about him playing across half back. So we'll just have to see. We don't know what his role is, but if he's there around one, could be a solid option to put in there because it's not like he's come out of nowhere like a Relton Roberts for back in the day where a lot of people picked him up. So for all those old school fantasy coaches out there, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Noah Long, I don't think he's there around one. A few people hoping for. Same with Ollie Dempsey for Geelong. Again, tough team to crack into, so don't see him there. And Anthony Caminiti, I think I've said that correctly, could potentially be there for St Kilda round one. I just don't think he scores very well, so I'd rather the options that are on the screen here. So these are the rookies that I'd prefer. These are all the ones. I think Ginbey's a must-have. Darcy Wilmot, I think, is pretty much a must-have on the bench. Ashcroft and Mackenzie and Phillips, all three of them are must-haves. Sheezel is a must-have, and then I think the good options are, and then Pedler, Fergus, Green, Allen Davey. I think all three of those are pretty much must-haves. Obviously, all barring they will get named. And then just, the other solid options. Philippou could be solid. Bailey Humphrey, get names, could be solid. Ollie Holland, I think, will be solid. Chincotta, Cowan, if they get named, they'll be solid as well. But these are the rookies I'll be having for AFL Fantasy 2023. So let me know who you guys are looking at putting in your teams in round one, obviously barring that they're named. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as we try and reach a goal of 1,000 subscribers. As I mentioned before, all your support on the channel is very much appreciated. We've passed 600, we're on our way to 650 and then 700 and then hopefully even more. So thank you very much for that. All the socials in the description below, so make sure you go and follow all them for all pre-season content or just content throughout the season. And then also don't forget AFL Fantasy Fanatics Twitter Spaces every Sunday night, 4:30 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time and 7:30 p.m. across all of the Eastern states. Straight after the final game, so we'll be digesting, going through reviews, get some coaches on, talk about all the things that happen each week. So make sure you go and do that. And then podcasts will be uploaded shortly after. Go get it wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, follow, and review. And rating would be very much appreciated on those. Me and Tim appreciate all your support. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video as we count down towards the start of the 2023 AFL season. I'm out. Cheers.